So, our first review of the day is going to be for the film Longlegs. Longlegs is the latest horror movie out right now from Neon. We were just talking about Neon. They're kind of like a A24, basically. They do a lot of small budget type stuff. Kind of it's really a lot of their movies generate really great word of mouth and people go see them. And actually, this movie is doing a really great job at that because the box office on this is doing really well. On a budget of 3 million, this has made a total of about a total of 18 to 20 million already so far, and they've done a lot of really great things with viral marketing, just as far as like teasing, the performance of Nicolas Cage in this. Also, there's the website of Longlegs there that you can go to where you can see a lot of the crime scene photos and things like that in the movie. So it's done a lot of that with its marketing. That's also really helped this, and also just the also good word of mouth that this movie's getting as well. There's a lot of people raving about this movie, a lot of people saying this is a masterpiece. It's amazing. It's great. It's fantastic. It's one of the greatest horror movies ever. And you know what I mean? The praise
Mhm.
for the movie has been pretty much nonstop, since it's now been released. And so you may ask, what the hell is Long Legs about? You know what I mean? What is this movie all about? Well, it is about you have this FBI agent by the name of Lee Harker, and tracking down a serial killer by the name of Longlegs, who is played by Nicolas Cage. And that's not really a spoiler because it's not really a whodunit as far as a mystery of who's committing these murders. You already know who's committing these murders. They already show you pretty early on who is committing these murders. It's about them hunting down this serial killer of Longlegs, played by Nicolas Cage. It's just about how he's actually committing these crimes. How's he's doing this? Because the way that these people are dying is just like, them trying to figure out what method is he's using to do it. And he's leaving behind all these different ciphers that they have to decode in order to, find out this guy to get the clue to the next murder there and how he's kind of all doing this and what's his methodology of how he's committing these crimes. And Lee Harker is played by Monica Moreau here, who people might know. She was also in another great horror film. She was in It Follows, and she was in The Guest. She was in that as well. Um, and I do remember her in It Follows. She looks kind of a little bit different here in It Follows. I mean, than in this movie than she did in It
Mhm.
Follows. But yeah, she plays that character of Lee Harker. Very much of a Curly Starling type role.
Mm.
Jodie Foster from Silence of the Lambs. I think a lot of influence comes from Silence of the Lambs, as well as things
Yeah.
like Seven, Hereditary. I think
A
it's
lot
all
of hereditary in this.
you'll see that. I think it's very much of an inspiration in this as well. So kind of some of those movies I think are very much of an inspiration for this movie here. But yeah, she's the FBI agent who has a very keen instinct on tracking down serial killers. You see her there, very good at piecing together some of the clues there. So that you very much draw very, very good, I think, direct parallels between her and Clarice Starling there. And she really shines in this role. And this movie is directed by Osgood Perkins. And Osgood Perkins, he's done movies like Gretel and Hansel, which I remember we did review that
We did.
on the show there. And my criticism of that movie was like, this feels like a really good starter movie. And then it eventually, I think the director of this would build into something better. And I think he has with something like Long Legs, which I think the atmosphere and the tension in this movie is absolutely top notch. But I'm going to give Dusk a chance to jump in here. Dusk, what were your thoughts on Long Legs?
Yeah, the director of this, he's directed a lot of different kind of movies, a lot of them horror. He really started to get my attention with his movie, The Black Coat's Daughter, which was his about third movie he did. But that was the first one he directed and wrote, and you really can see that personality in that movie. And if you haven't seen Black Coat's Daughter, I highly recommend it. It's a slow burn, but it's really intense. And this one does feel a lot more kind of anxious in its nature and kind of carries over some of those elements, but takes it into more police procedural, more crime procedural. And this movie is a mix of that a lot. It mixes a couple different genres: crime procedurals, occult mystery, uh, scary dolls, and much more than that. Especially in the way that the mystery is laid out and the way it's you kind of along with the main character, you're trying to piece it along with all these ghastly murders that are happening. I think
Mm,
what I really appreciate most about this movie is that he really allows the environment for you to get just as claustrophobic and anxious as the main character is for this. You really feel her just kind of like just stumbling on these different events and trying to piece things together before, and you feel like her there's a ticking clock. You feel like you're not getting the full answer. You feel like you're being left out on a loop. And as slowly as she starts delving more and more, you start getting that ugly feeling in your gut that something it's deeper than even that. And by the time you think you've gotten, oh man, this is already getting kind of crazy, it's a no, we you still got a lot more to go. I think that's what I really appreciate it. The performances in this are by far my favorite part. I think Micah Monroe does a great job, and I mean, what can I say about Nicolas Cage that hasn't been said? He just, I mean, leave it to a guy to get a bunch of movies out, pumping it out every 6 months, but he really gives a great performance in this movie. A really pretty layered performance in this. He's chews up ham, but then in the next moment he's really kind of feeling into that just elusive detail of him just being this like he's possessed in a way, and it's really good. The times that you do get to see him, and I think the supporting cast does a very good job as well to really kind of make this environment, make the world feel alive and fearful, and that this mystery is just kind of unfolding.
mm, yeah. Um, the look of this movie is really great. Talking about the tension, the
Hmm.
atmosphere I mentioned before, like you said, it really makes you feel very like claustrophobic and like it makes you feel like you're with the character and on this journey of hunting down this killer. Um, So it's really great work direction wise of
Hmm.
really showcasing that, and the cinematography, the look of it is also really great too. And you see that with this character of Lee Harker, I guess somebody that you would describe as being on the spectrum, I guess to some degree, maybe
Hmm.
in some ways they're very kind of cold, in a way, very awkward socially, which leads to some humorous moments in the film there, even though as dark as this film is, there are some humorous moments that do come, and it does come with her and her kind of awkwardness at times. So I good they kinda add that in there. You also have, like I said, really great performances, not even just from the 2 leads, who I think bounce off each other really well, talking about, Micah Monroe and then Nicolas Cage really balance each other out very well,
Hmm.
in their kind of performances. But also you have people like Blair Underwood who comes in there, who's her supervisor, who does a
Yeah.
really great job. You have, also Alyssa, Witt who comes in here, who's the mother, who she does a really terrific job as
Yeah.
well. Um so you really have fantastic performances, all around in this movie and what you kinda have here, and I was really looking forward to this movie, I
Hmm.
didn't really know much about it coming in. I knew it was Nicolas Cage. I knew it might been maybe some killer or something like that in it, but I knew very little, and I think that works best when you know kinda as little as possible coming in because I think that really helps your experience, watching the movie and really watching it and seeing everything developed. I really was kinda wondering what's gonna happen next and what's gonna
Right.
be the next thing here, which is kinda often it's kinda not often I feel like that. It's kinda rare where I don't kinda feel like, "Oh, I already, don't know, what's gonna happen next." Sometimes in
Yeah.
movies, you watch enough of 'em, it's like, "Okay, this is probably gonna
Yeah.
happen. This is probably gonna
No,
happen."
that's
Uh,
what I'm right with there with you. I appreciated that. I also was going, okay, no, I was on in suspense, like where actually we were gonna go.
yeah,
How
I
far
mean
is this gonna go?
mm, yeah, which I think is a real talent of the film because I tell you, man, my booty hole was clenched, throughout the whole thing, because I was like, "I don't know what's gonna come around this corner. I don't know, like, what's gonna happen in this scene. Something could pop out." Like, it's
Hmm.
just that intense, I think, for me, and I don't wanna overhype it for people.
Hmm.
Some people, they come into a movie and they hear, like, "This is the scariest thing ever made," or, "This is you'll shit yourself if you watch this movie," and you know what I mean, all that stuff. I don't wanna overhype it for people there coming into this. I do think it is really well done. And I wasn't disappointed with it. A lot of movies I've been mostly anticipating this movie of 2024 have slightly disappointed me to a degree because I'm like, it's slightly to a degree. But this one, I don't think did. I think this is really well done and really well executed in a lot of elements. And Nicolas Cage, sometimes you can get way too over the top Nicolas Cage. Sometimes you get the
Hmm.
right balance, and I think you get the right amount of him here and he doesn't overtake the movie, and it feels right in line with what the movie is doing.
Yeah. Nicolas
Um,
Cage is a extremely talented actor, but he goes just as much by the direction of the director and what you tell him to do, and he will give you exactly what you want out of him. And so you kind of have to be careful on how much you want out of him, but he'll deliver. And I agree, he did a great, just enough that you felt on edge and really encapsulating a character. And the moments between him and Micah Monroe are really good. And
yeah,
the like I said, the sidecasts, they do a great job too, really making those characters feel alive and also making everybody feel like, yeah, we're all in danger. We need to figure this out.
yeah. Um, I think the direction of the film.
Mhm,
Let's talk about a little bit about the negatives. Some people might go with it, some people might not go with it.
mhm,
I can see people being turned off about the direction where it goes towards the end, towards the 3rd act.
mhm,
I can see that. I can't say I was the hugest fan of that,
mhm,
myself either. But yeah, I mean, I didn't hate it, for me.
mhm,
I thought it was like, okay, I think this is still good. Maybe if you still kept the same direction, I don't know if I would have been more pleased with that instead of where they went. How did you kind of feel about that without spoiling it too much there?
mm. Yeah, I can see where it might lose a few members in the audience where it went in a more, I would say, more dynamic direction compared to where they were going beforehand. The clues are there that it's going to be a bit more strange than what would be normally handled, but kind of some audience members might have been going on with a what was the TV series? Like going on traditional kind of a crime serial killer with just extra.
Mindhunter?
Mindhunter is not bad. I was also going with True Detective season
Oh,
one,
okay.
kind of that kind of a vibe, and that's good. That's good as well. Uh, we end up leaning a little more out of there in a more aggressive direction away from that, but I didn't mind it so much as I felt the clues were kind of building to it, but I completely understood if somebody was going, that's a veering to a direction I'm not. I would have preferred if it maybe kept the initial direction it was kind of going and didn't quite veer in the direction it went in.
Yeah. And another reason I kinda don't like where they
Mhm,
kinda end up there at the end is because I've seen a lot of movies of this type kinda have that type of big big bad,
mhm,
at the end, and I'm kinda like, I've seen a lot of horror movies, before, and a lot of kinda thrillers before." And I'm kinda like, I don't know, maybe you could have done something a little different there. But still, I don't think it ruins the movie, it just kinda, drops it down a little bit for me, but it's still overall fantastic movie,
mhm.
I think. Um, yeah. Are you gonna say something?
No, no, I was agreeing with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, so if you have a chance to see this, I highly recommend you do see it. And I mean, I don't want you to maybe listen to too much hype around it, go in it kind of cold there. Come back to this review, actually click on this review after you see the movie to kind of, see if you agree with us. Don't listen to it beforehand. I recommend, listen to the review afterwards after you've already seen it. Um, just to go in there and go in this because you wanna go in there as fresh as possible,
Mhm,
and not have any outside kind of thoughts kinda, coming in your head while you're watching it, and kinda be too much influence. But yeah, I think that, it's a shame. I mean, this performance is in a, genre film, kind of a, little bit of a mystery horror murder type thing. Usually roles like this don't get recognized, in the Academy or other awards, but I do think Micah Monroe does a fantastic job here and the different progression she plays throughout the movie and how she kind of evolves and changes there and unveiling all these things. And it is very impressive to watch. And the camera work, like you said, look at that
mhm,
shot, or just certain things. Like I said, I mean, it's very rare a movie creeps me out, because like you say, you've
mhm,
seen so much horror movies, you've seen so many things and movies of this type, but man, this movie really does a good job at doing it. And I like that quite a bit. Um, yeah, and also there's kind of a narration towards the end, where I was kinda like, I'd just rather you just show it, instead of kinda doing the whole narration bit. I
mhm.
rather just kinda show that probably
I can see that.
maybe been better. So for me, I would give this a peak. I give it a good solid peak. What about for you there, Dusk?
Yeah, this is a strong showing, especially in the horror category. The camera angles were just excellent, very well done. The atmosphere was very strong. That's one of the main things of a horror movie. A lot of horror directors and just a lot of horror movies we don't get too much of is atmosphere is key. It's not just about the jump scares, it's about the atmosphere. It's about setting up that feeling of dread and knowing when to let it up, let it go up, and then let it release, and then just calm it back down and let you get back and lulling into that sense of safety before disrupt it again. And I think this one balances it fairly strongly for the first two thirds, almost like I would almost say the first three fourths, and then it goes to a more explosive ending, I should say, more dynamic ending. But by that point, I was kind of on board, but I could totally see where other people aren't. Uh, But despite all that, I mean, the performances are strong. The environment is like the cinematography is excellent. I mean, this is what you kind of want in a horror movie. I got to give it at least a low peak. This is a definitely you should go to the theaters and see this. Uh, just yeah, it's definitely go in as blind as you can. If you were lucky enough to go and see movies like Barbarian from 2022, Blind, those are the kind of movies you just kind of mostly low budget, like low budget when in cinemas concerns. Go in, try to go in as quiet as possible, and you're gonna have the best experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And screw this movie for now when I listen to T-Rex or, Velvet Underground, I'm gonna get nightmares and shit like
Oh
that,
boy.
so screw this movie for that.
Uh,
You know, but, you'll see what I mean when you actually, see the
mhm.
movie there, but like I said, this, is doing really well right now, especially competing right now, its competition is Fly Me to the Moon, which has 2 bigger stars in it. It's got Channing Tatum, and it's got, Scarlett Johansson, so it says Neon is seeing its biggest opening weekend in the company's 7-year history. It's on Oz Perkins, who's, by the way, he's the son of Anthony Perkins, who was, Norman Bates, in
Mhm.
Psycho, by the way there. So yeah, history is Oz Perkins. Long as looking at 9 to 10 million Friday opening weekend, and opening weekend between 20 to 23 million at 2,500 over 2,500 theaters there, 2,510. So yeah, um, very very nice, very good showing for that movie. So 2 peaks for Longlegs. Interested to see what Oz Perkins does next. There, very very interested to see there.